My name's Steve Swatton. I'm the president and CEO of K2 Gold, and we have a project in Southern California. It's located midway between Las Vegas and Los Angeles, about 300 kilometers from each, and 70 kilometers south of a town called Bishop, which is the local largest town of only just north of 10,000 people in the whole county. So it's 20,000 in the whole county, 10,000 in the part of Vinya that we're in. The project is on the Walker Lane. It's a gold project, but recently we actually discovered copper as well. As a result of the drilling that we did last year, we decided to follow up with some copper exploration, and we've had quite a lot of success in identifying copper in sediment hosted. But we suspect that based on previous reports, it may well be fed by an intrusive, which is this couple of intrusives that we suspect are in the area, and we'll be putting out news in the future about this work.
Brilliant. Okay, good to have you back on, Steve. I think you were back on last June, where we kind of got to catch up with you there then. I do want to talk about the Cerro Gordo project, named after me, where I just want to understand the 100% acquisition there. But before that, I just want to talk about, it seems to me that some of the locals are restless, right? You've had a lot of feedback from some locals, certainly on social media, about the fact that they don't want mining in their district. They've named you guys specifically. How much of a problem is that going to be?
Quite honestly, when we first went into this project a couple of years ago, it seemed to be a huge problem that we had to overcome. But as a result of the work that we've done with the local communities and the level of engagement, the open and transparent way that we've gone about our work, we've even set up an office there, and we have an employee in Lone Pine. We found that the support has been greater. The actual opposition tends to be more from outside of Lone Pine, which is the local town, and the property is about 45-minute drive from here. So it's not as if we're right on the edge of the town, but yes, there has been some opposition. And as you probably well know, Matt, in this part of California, any part of California, there's going to be opposition to most mining situations. I mean, this was an old, don't get me wrong, this was an old mining district that we're dealing with here. The tungsten mine north of Bishop was probably the largest tungsten mine during the Second World War, and it was largely part of the efforts of those people that supported the war effort. So look, there's still people who remember those mines being operational. They were operational until the 1980s. So Inyo Counties is familiar with the mining situation, but there is a new generation of people that have moved in, and there is some opposition. I'm not going to shy away from that, but we think that we now have stronger local support. And we did an economic study recently, Matt, from a group called Beacon Economics, and they're a group which are quite highly respected within California. And we basically said, okay, then we're going to do an exploration project. It's probably going to last maybe up to 10 years, and then subsequently to that, going to be mining. So could you split the actual benefits down into two different categories? And I was quite astounded to realize that during the exploration phase, which may take up to 10 years, it will be over 6 phases, if you like, and we're just kind of in the first phase right now. We'd be generating about 177 jobs. We'll be putting 150 million into the local economy. This is just from the exploration, let alone the mining. Now, of course, those numbers are a little bit wiggly depending on how things go, but this was Beacon Economics with some limited input from us from similar types of scenarios, maybe, something further south, a couple of the mines that are in Nevada and a couple of them in California. They fed the numbers in, and this is what they came out. And one thing also to remember, Matt, is when we employ people, we tend to employ them well above the national average in terms of salary. I mean, the average salary at the Castle Mountain mine is, as I understand it, the average salary is at the north of $100,000. Now, the average salary in Lone Pine itself, I've got the numbers here, but it's around $46,000 a year. So these are high-paying jobs. There's going to be some opposition towards it, but we've got to look at, is it the economic benefit to the local community? And what is the local community? Is it Lone Pine? Is it Inyo? Is it California itself? I mean, the mining industry is quite a substantial part of the revenue stream for whole of California. A lot of it's extraction, extraction for roadstone, but there is also a fair amount of mining that does go on, and people don't really realize this, that mining is quite a significant contributor to the economy of California.
Okay, companies come on here and they talk about ESG and that what they're doing and so forth, and we've long had the conversation about California's potential resistance to mining. You've rebutted and go on to me, well, look at the number of miners in California, and some, it's a long history of it as well. Great conversation. But with things like this these days, it's with social media, the ability for individuals or groups to amplify their rejection of mining or a specific company's mining efforts. How do you, as a small company, work with that? I mean, when you say we've got someone employed, we're working locally, we're getting a lot of sympathy, empathy, and positive feedback. You can't guarantee the outcome of this, can you? I mean, how do we know as investors that this thing's going to go forward? What would you say?
Unless they change the law, Matt, it will go through. And at the moment, yes, things are going relatively slowly compared to other projects, but they are progressing. And just to give you an instance where we are with the BLM will give us a decision as to the environmental assessment in January. Then they're going to do the study themselves, a biological study, environmental study, cultural study, and then probably about Q2, we should get the thumbs up to do the drilling. We're not exactly sure when it's going to be, but unless the law actually really changes, this thing will progress to a drilling stage, and we've applied for a 30-site program. We'll probably try and drill 4 holes per site. And this is on the gold alone. We haven't applied for anything outside of the area that already has an old road on it, a BHP road, which has been basically blocked at one end. And all we need to go back in and level it again. The last program that we did was helicopter supported. But with this number of drills that we'd like to put drilling sites, it would not make economic sense for us to actually have it helicopter supported.
Okay, so as far as you're concerned, BLM are on a process, on a line, which at some point in Q2, as far as you're concerned, you get the thumbs up to start drilling. Nothing can stop that. Not
that we can see. There's nothing come up. The lawyers have explained to us that there is absolutely nothing that can impede this. But it, like anything else in California, it takes time. So no. We're going to go ahead. We're going to be drilling this, and there will be some local opposition. And quite rightly, you brought up Cerro Gordo, which is a property that we took an option on recently. And as a result of that, yes, it spurned a lot of negativity towards the company. The negativity has gone away more recently, and I think it's interesting that we do invite people to comment on every aspect of what we do. We have total transparency, and a lot of letters were sent to the BLM, but it's nothing different than they've already seen before. So it came back with much of the same stuff. There was a certain amount of confusion, because Conglomerate Mesa and Cerro Gordo are two different properties. But the problem is that they kind of confused the two, because most of the people that were writing these letters had never been to site, and they didn't really understand where the two properties were. So on the one hand, they're talking about Conglomerate Mesa, but are actually trying to talk about Cerro Gordo. Now, Cerro Gordo was an old mining situation that was mined during the early part of the later of the 19th century, sorry. And the silver mining there was actually what spurned LA to become a port. And it was a pretty significant mine in its day. Subsequently, it's now a ghost town, what they call a ghost town. And there is one individual who's living up there, and he's partly living up there, and he's restoring it. And we have utmost respect for what he's doing up there. It looks fantastic what he's trying to do. And unfortunately, there was a bit of miscommunication around our intentions and maybe the impact on himself. So yes, we got a lot of negativity. around, a YouTube channel. And we took the approach that we will still be transparent about everything that we do. We're not going to shy away the fact that we are an exploration company and we're going to do exploring, but we have no intention to impact that ghost town experience that people are going to have. We merely want to go up and do exploration on the boundaries of the property.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I think I know about the individual you're talking about. He's taken a particularly hard line, put it mildly. And I don't want to give that any more oxygen, quite frankly. Okay, so end of Q2, you'll know more, and you'll be able to tell us how you're going to proceed. Have you got the money to do it? Because obviously you've taken the option, you've done an option agreement here with Cerro Gordo. What does that mean in financial terms, timing, etc.? Yeah,
we got 3.5 million in the bank at the moment, and look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, this is taking a lot longer than we anticipated to get this thing through. So we have the right to do exploration at Cerro Gordo, but not only that, Matt, we're also looking in Nevada. And we haven't been shy about saying this, and we've always been looking in Nevada. It's not as if it's something that we're suddenly doing. We've identified a couple of properties which we're now trying to negotiate for, and hopefully I'll be able to release some news on those in the future. But, it's all part and parcel of being an exploration company, where you're always kind of looking to mitigate the risk somewhat of some sort of delay or something going on with the property. I mean, nature is nature. Sometimes you drill, you think you're going to hit, but you need other options. So we do have a property in the Yukon right now that we put on with mothballed. It's a perfectly good property, but at the moment we decided that we're going to concentrate on Southwest US. So yeah, we're looking in other areas. It's just prudent for an exploration company to do this type of approach.
Okay, so Nevada is an as well story, not an instead of. You're not walking away from California.
Absolutely not. This project is probably the best thing I've seen since I've been in the business over 30 years. And it's got so much mineralization wherever you look. Every program that we've done in every location is coming up. Now, where the source of the goods are, and it's not only gold, Matt, it's also copper that we're finding. We're also finding base metals as well, but it seems to be now a gold copper play that we're dealing with. So the copper's on the western side and the gold's on the eastern side. Now, I'm not entirely sure where the focus of all of the mineralization is going to be. That's why we drill. But it could be district size. I mean, the size of the property is about 6 kilometers by 10 kilometers. And the western side is as I say, it's copper, up to 13% copper we've had in rock samples, which is pretty high grade. And we realize that's going to be just in local bands, but where's the source of this? And we'd like to have the opportunity as an exploration company to be able to explore this property fully. And therefore, by doing that, we need to do the drilling. And these drilling programs in this part of the world do take a long time. So this is the reason why we're looking at Nevada. It's a much shorter time frame from exploration to drilling to some sort of feasibility.
Is everything going to get slowed up now? Because the Biden big new green economy story versus the actually we don't want people mining stories, which are also coming out at the same time. There's this kind of disconnect between what the Biden economy Biden administration wants versus what it's going to allow. Does that mean mining generally, there's going to be less of it? Is the mining that does happen going to be slower? Are they going to jump through more hoops? Is it going to be more expensive? What's your view on US mining?
Yeah, I think it's probably the latter. It's going to be slower. I think because of this critical minerals that they're seeking right now, of which copper is not on that list, but it's certainly something of interest. It's in battery metals, right? And it's part of the green revolution and all sorts of, wind power generated. Solar panel is almost in everything. Copper, as we know, Dr. Copper, they call it, is in everything. There is sufficient copper, but yeah, there's certain sites that have now been shut down by the Biden administration. So, the impression that I have is that mining will be necessary and we still have to do it, but they're kind of making it harder. So on the one hand, they want self-sufficiency in certain metals. But on the other hand, they're kind of saying, well, we don't want it done here. But I don't think the rubber has hit the road as to exactly how they're going to sort this out. And in the meantime, the BLM have got a very difficult job in that they're trying to interpret what the current administration want compared to the last one. And who knows, if the administration changes in the future, it'll flip back the other way. And as an exploration guy who has to deal in long-term budgets, it's a little hard sometimes to balance this. Flip-flop approach sometimes to exploration.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. No, you're not the only one saying that, I think. Look, $3.5 million in the bank. You've got California. It's moving slower than you want it to, but you want to get drilling hopefully end of Q2, beginning of Q3, right? That's the target. You're part of the discovery group. You guys don't find it too hard to go and raise capital. There's some very successful companies in there, makes it easy for you to do so. What's being said internally? Obviously, everyone's going to have the same view. It's taking way longer than we thought. Okay, that's not good. We've got a project in Yukon. We're going to look in Nevada. We've got to be agile, nimble, and flexible here. What's the feeling and tenor and tone of this? I mean, you said you're going to keep California, but do you go and raise more money and advance Nevada just in case? Do you pull the Yukon project out of the back of the drawer and get that moving too? What are you thinking?
It's a good question, because the two properties that we're pursuing in Nevada are quite different. One's an advanced project and one's a much earlier stage. And the project in Yukon, in fact, there's been a discovery made on the edge of our property up there. So look, it could move. So, watch this space. I'm not really sure which way we're going to go until we're having discussions. We have a couple of the directors down in Las Vegas right now who are talking about the deals with the Nevada-based companies. But with this discovery being made up in the Yukon, who knows? I mean, I have the feeling that we'll get approached fairly soon, and we'll have to reassess what we have up there. Okay.
Look, thanks for the update, and thanks for being so honest about what's going on in California. You've been nothing but honest about that. This is why people talk about mitigating risk with multiple jurisdictions and multiple assets, I guess.
Right.
So is it just a waiting game for you? You're not plowing through cash. There's nowhere to spend money or allocate money at the moment for you, is there?
No, I mean, we're on a bit of a go slow at the moment, waiting for a decision from the BLM. So we're cutting costs, and our overheads are really relatively low. And we still have enough money to do that drilling program at the moment. So we're keeping our powder dry. So optimistically, I have to be optimistic. I'm in the optimism game. We should be drilling by Q2, and I'm looking forward to it. Maybe we're going to drill 30 sites, so 120 holes, 4 sites, and that will give us the bare bones of a resource to be able to go back to the market and raise more money to do more drilling. But I want to emphasize that the economic impact to a small community of 1,800 people in Lone Pine could be quite significant. I mean, even if you had 5 or 10 jobs, it makes a huge difference. The knock-on multiplier effect, as they call it, with all of the other sort of ancillary businesses that are attached to it. At the moment, Lone Pine is a place that people either go to enjoy their recreation, but it tends to be a place that they stop off on the way to somewhere else. I'm pretty sure that the people in Lone Pine would like to have them stop in there to actually, if the economy is improved, they can then bring in other businesses locally. And I feel like we do have the support of influential people in Lone Pine. So I'm quietly optimistic that this will come through. It's just that, as you know, investors have pretty short patience sometimes. And they've been patient enough up until now, but they may have to just wait a little bit longer. But I'm optimistic that we will prevail.